So maybe with the group, you could just share a little bit of background. How were you injured, and what has been your journey since?
Yeah, how am I here? Why am I here?
Mhm.
So in 2012, a tree fell on my family's car. We were just driving and it fell on the car. Sometimes life just happens and there's no reason and it's unfair. And then I became a quadriplegic. And like many in the community, I lost a lot of things, my independence, my career, my home. I lost my parents, kind of your autonomy. And a lot of that was like your dreams for the future. And so there's this moment after spinal cord injury where you cling to anything that could maybe make this not true. So I poured into exercise therapy. I have a C3, C4 injury, central cord syndrome. So I've got some movement, and exercise therapy was good, but I found that my fine motor skills were the most frustrating and most limiting part of my life. And so I eventually found my way to research through a community here called the Northwest Regional Spinal Cord Injury System at the University of Washington. Um, and they introduced me to this study targeting upper limb mobility. So I thought I might be a good candidate. I talked with Dr. Chet Moritz and he agreed. And I honestly went in without high expectations. You don't have to be part of this community or even the spinal cord injury community or a doctor or a scientist to know that when you hear those words paralyzed spinal cord injury community, there's not there's not a lot of hope out there. So I went in um, thinking I'll do my part because science isn't just about what we already know. Progress happens because of what we refuse to give up on. And so I showed up and I got to be part of something that was real and part of something that has worked.
And Jesse, for those on the call who may not know somebody with an injury, what are you told after you have your initial injury and you're in rehab for, let's say, 3 months or so? What's the messaging that you're given?
A lot of people in the community will say, my doctor said that I would never walk again. My experience is that doctors are very careful with their language. They say things like, well, we hope so, or it's unlikely. Um, but you know exactly what they're saying. And the feelings that you get are kind of you might get a tiny bit of function back within the first year, but I wouldn't expect a whole lot more. You're going to leave this hospital with the tools that you have because this is your life now.
Okay.
And
And so you,
that's it.
yeah, you're basically told, do the best you can with the function that you have now. And so you entered into
Mm.
this study using Arc EX therapy with fairly low expectations. What was your
Oh yeah.
experience? How did it impact you?
Um, this is the cool part, Dave. Okay, so I think I can break this down into three categories. One, functionality. So I can do things now like I can use a credit card without it falling or fumbling. I can get it out of my wallet. I can open an orange. I can turn a doorknob, the circle kind. I can twist a jar without cross threading it. I can drink from a cup without a straw. All things that like seem so small, but are so meaningful. And in these like little functionality gains that I've gotten from Arc EX, you can still see like, yes, I'm still a quadriplegic, but there is a vast difference between not being able to do something at all and being able to do something with a little time and patience. So the
Mhm.
second thing is I would call it systemic recovery. So um, I have more stable blood pressure, better temperature regulation. I'm sweating. Transfers are easier. I've reduced spasticity. My neuropathic pain is completely gone. I don't take any medication for pain now, except maybe a headache because I am a mom and a wife. Um, but and I want to be clear, these weren't study objectives and they weren't measured. But I know other folks in this study that I am not the only one that has experienced these positive side effects. And then the third way I would say I've like experienced some personal benefits is quality of life. Again, another thing that's not really measured, but there is a quiet dignity in needing less help.
Mm.
In the world feel like and feeling the world press against you just a little bit less. It's not about being more independent in some grand sweeping way. It's a thousand tiny little freedoms and moments where I can go through the world a little bit easier without pausing to calculate what I can and cannot do.
So, Jesse, the functional gains that you made are really compelling. But do you feel comfortable maybe sharing how your personal life changed and evolved as a result of having more function and independence?
Um, yeah. So it's like it's a big question, but let me paint a little picture of you before and after. Since I was one of the first um, people to use this, this was 5 or 6 years ago now, right? So when I first started this study, I lived with a roommate. I was about 5 or 6 years out of my accident. I needed 20 hours of caregiving a week, and I was kind of learning to do things. And then during the study, I picked up painting. I thought I could start painting a little bit. I bought a house. I moved out on my own, um, and then I cut my caregiving down to 12 hours. So this is all after the study, during the study, and after the study. I got the confidence to start dating, the old fashioned way on Bumble, internet dating. And I met a man with an impressive mustache, and we got married. All after this study. And after talking, we decided that we were going to have kids. And we did. And we got that surprise ultrasound, and it was twins, everybody. It was twins. And it was a surprise. A quadriplegic pregnant with twins isn't exactly what everyone studies in your medical textbooks, but I'm now 3 or 4 years past the study, and I am still feeling confident in the gains that I made now years ago with the Arc EX, and my body felt ready. And I went through a geriatric twin pregnancy as a quadriplegic with virtually no complications. And there's this moment when the nurses and my husband would hand me those babies without hesitation, that I realized something, that my life is so different than before when I started this study. I knew I could hold them. I felt confident. My hands weren't perfect, and I needed some help with fine motor skills, but I could hold my own children. I was a different person. My body wasn't fragile. I wasn't fragile. Um, so it just kind of helped me gave me the space to build a life I didn't even think was possible for me.